Okay. Good evening, class. Okay. First of all, uh, welcome to our class today. Yeah. So during our last lesson, we learned about. I introduced you to analysis and design, and in that particular lesson, we were able to define a system. All right. So who can tell us? What is a system? As we learned in our last lesson, who can define a system for us in this lesson? Anybody? Hello, class. Are you there? Yes, I can hear you. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is just a, a set of, a set of interrelated elements working together in order to achieve a predetermined goal. So basically, in this unit, you're looking at system analysis and design. So before we go deep into the evolution of system development, uh, we want to define what a methodology is. So, a methodology is a formalist approach or a series of steps that we can follow in order to achieve a certain goal. So, you realize that writing a code without a well thought out system request may work for small programs, but rarely works for large programs. So, this is one of the reasons why we really need to plan whenever we want to develop a system. You know, you can design a small system without really getting to plan. Okay, but for larger system, you really need to plan how you are going to be able to implement that particular system. So let's look at structure design in our next slide. So projects move methodically from one to the next step. So first of all, you have to plan. You have to do a plan. Well, you finish one particular step and then you go to the next particular step. It is systematic from one step to another. For you, so in this lesson, we are going to look at models of developing a system, and we are going to look at the waterfall model. So the waterfall model simply has five major steps. So number one, we have planning. So when you're developing a system, you have to start from scratch. You have to plan. You have to look at what you really need, the elements that you need, the requirements that you need in order to develop that particular system. So you'll plan. So like what will be the scope? So in planning, you look at the scope of the system that you want to develop. So from the scope, you'll look at whatever you need, and then you go to the analysis of the particular requirements that you have gathered for this system. So let's say you want to build a school registration system. So first, you're going to plan. All right. So you know that you're going to need a database for students. You're going to need maybe lecturers or something. And so you need to be able to plan and then analyze. After analyzing, you're going to come up with a design. So which particular programming language are you going to use to code? So maybe you are designing these databases. Maybe you need to draw your tables, uh, come up with relationships. Okay, with these tables, how is the student and maybe the department related to the lecturer, to the departments in that particular college? So you're able to design this particular system using a specific maybe or one or two or more programming languages. And then finally, and then next, I mean, you should be able to implement this particular system by now coding it. So implementation is basically the coding part of this particular system. All right. So in the coding, you'll find that you'll need to bring a lot of things together to work. You have to come up with a good operating system. You integrate the hardware and the software. You make sure everything is working normally. You install your softwares in a correct manner and make sure that you're able to design this system to be able to work effectively. Then finally, you'll have your system, as you can see in our last step. So waterfall model takes you from the first step systematically to the next step. You cannot skip either of these steps. So you start by planning, basically, then you move to analysis, then you design this particular system, you implement it by coding it. You can either maybe do this system by as a person, or you can do it as a group. So you don't have to necessarily do what to be able to do it alone. You can do it as a group, and then finally you have this system, and you'll realize that this particular process takes a lot of time. All right. Yeah, so designing a system can take you a very long time, and therefore waterfall model is one of the many ways, one of the many models that you can use to design a system. All right. So finally, you have your system. You are able to test it. Okay. And you are able to testing. You are able to roll it out to various people to be able to look at it, test if maybe the objectives that you meant for it to perform are working perfectly, whether the modules are working correctly, whether the functions are working correctly. If maybe you designed it maybe to print a report, you are able to test if it can print a report. If it was able to, manipulate some data, it is able to manipulate effectively. And therefore, the waterfall model is one of the most common ways of developing a system. So we look at the pros and cons of waterfall model. So we just look at one pro. So one advantage is that it identifies system requirements along before programming begins. I think we just said that. So you have to look at the system requirements first before even beginning to do what? To program. And then we have another disadvantage here, the cons. The design must be specified on paper before programming begins. We say that you have to plan, you draw. If you need those databases, you're able to draw them physically first before being able to even to transfer them to the computer. Then another disadvantage is that there is a long time between the system proposal and the delivery of the new system. So you find that by the time you are proposing this system and the delivery of the new system, it will take a longer time. So that is why I even said that it can take maybe a group to be able to execute this, or even an individual to execute this. So that is basically the waterfall model, guys. So thank you so much for coming to my lesson. So that is basically the waterfall model. So any questions? Any question about our lesson today? Okay, there being no any other question, that is our lesson today. I'm going to give you an assignment. Can you go and research on two other models of system development process? So in your groups, please, can you go and research on two other models of system development models? And that assignment, I think I'll need it in the next 2 weeks. So make short notes, describe, use diagrams to be able to come up with a well illustrated system development models that you can come up with. Otherwise, thank you for listening. We'll meet next week. Thank you, guys. You're welcome. Karibuni sana. Karibuni sana. Thank you for your time. And my name is Mr. Eugene Amadi. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry about that. Are you a new student? Welcome. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, sorry. That is Kate. That is Kate. That is Kate. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. But welcome. Well, thank you, guys. Have a good evening.